This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight now, we bring you a discussion on India-US Strategic Energy Partnership. The participants are Narendra Taneja, energy expert, and AIR correspondent Renu Kataria.
In the midst of a global pandemic with an enormous human toll that is also affecting energy demand, global energy growth, the US-India Comprehensive Global Strategic Partnership has never been more vital. Mr. Taneja, how can energy cooperation serve as a centerpiece in the bilateral relationship between US and India during these trying times?
Well, as you know that when you look at our total partnership with the United States in various areas, energy is one basically in a way it outshines others because, India is an energy deficit country, while the United States, you can say, is energy superpower. They have massive reserves of oil, they have massive reserves of natural gas, and also at the same time, they are independent oil companies, there are also some technology providers. They have got a global footprint, which means that it goes beyond the United States or beyond North America and Latin America. So that gives them a kind of very special position, very powerful position globally. Since we are energy deficit, we import most of our oil, close to 86% of our total requirement, close to 50% of total requirement of natural gas. And with the partnership that we enjoy now with the United States, which has started in 2014, especially in terms of a strategic partnership, we have seen that in the United States, we have a partner, A, we can trust, B, which understands our requirement, and 3, a partner which has got all that we need, whether it's technology, experience, practices, capital, and all other things. So it makes a kind of a perfect partnership when it comes to the energy sector. As you know that we have a large number of people who are still living in energy poverty in the sense they don't have as much energy as they need, and per capita energy consumption in India is among the lowest, while it is among the highest in the United States. So that basically, brings our two countries together, and we see a lot of merit, a lot of benefit in strengthening and deepening this strategic partnership further.
Both countries also discussed about storing Indian oil in US reserves to increase India's oil stockpile. Sir, will it address the domestic reserve limitations?
When you look at India's geographical parking is an area which is geopolitically very volatile. We have got Middle East on one side where we always see kind of constant political turmoil. We have got China on the other side with very ambitious goals, which means that we have to prepare ourselves that we have sufficient oil in the country that we can take care of our most essential requirements such as armed forces, railways, transport, and some basic and essential industries. We have built over a period of time oil storage facility, and we have capacity today for 11 days, and we consume roughly 5 million barrels of oil every day. We are now working towards building this storage capacity for 40 to 45 days, but that's going to take time. Ultimate objective would be to build for 90 days, but that's a very long-term objective. So what we have decided to do in the meantime that United States now has offered this facility, we can buy oil, park our oil in their storage capacity against whatever agreement, like you pay some rental and all that, and then that oil belongs to us. So in the event of a war or in a similar situation, or if we want to take advantage of very low oil prices, we can go and put our oil there, pay whatever rent we need to pay, and then it is there. So this is a very good arrangement, and you don't enter into such arrangement except with countries you trust 100%. You are building a strategic partnership. So I think this is a major milestone in India's energy relationship with the United States.
The sides took note of both governments' strong commitment to advance our civil nuclear cooperation and welcomed recent progress on the Westinghouse commercial reactor project at Kovada, which represents an important milestone in our strategic relationship. Mr. Taneja, will this meet further the relations between both countries in the civil nuclear sector?
Well, the simple and straight answer is yes. Absolutely. I mean, look at the energy scenario as a whole. Today, when you look at India's energy mix, we consume a lot of coal. Our dependence on coal is very high. If we have to kind of go for a green economy in the sense where we don't use fossil fuels beyond a point, and then we switch to renewable energy, we switch to nuclear power, and we switch to only green energy, which we have to do because we are a densely populated country. Here I'm talking of 30 years, 40 years kind of roadmaps. There, nuclear is going to play a very important role. In fact, 2050 and 2060 and beyond, we are going to bulk of our energy is going to come from nuclear and solar. And solar in a way is also nuclear because sun is a nuclear reactor. So when we use solar power, actually it's also nuclear power indirectly in the sense that sun is a nuclear reactor. So which means eventually it's going to be 100% nuclear if you include solar as a nuclear. Given this kind of picture and this kind of roadmap that we are building for India for next 60, 70 years, so this partnership is very critical. We have a great partnership in nuclear with Russia. We have indigenous, very advanced, very high-tech indigenous nuclear R&D. We are also experimenting in thorium and so on and so forth. But this partnership with the US means that we're going to construct new generation nuclear reactors in India, which are going to be big, and also we are going to build nuclear parks. So that will become an example, and we'll be building further. That way, take care of all energy requirement of India when it comes to 20 years from now, 15 years from now. As India moves from oil and natural gas to electricity, India is now entering into the age of electricity, which means we're going to use electricity practically for everything from manufacturing to domestic to transport to our cars and scooters and everything. And with this deal with the United States in terms of nuclear power is going to help us secure energy security, secure electricity for our faster economic growth.
Both sides also recognize the need for a more balanced workforce with diverse skill sets to support energy innovation. Sir, how does the ministry plan to address gender diversity and empower women in the energy sector?
Two main areas of energy: conventional energy, which is coal, and oil and gas. In conventional energy, we saw that it was a kind of area where you had to go into very difficult terrains, you have to go offshore in deep water, and the experience that was basically a male-dominated energy sector. But as we now promote nuclear power and renewables, which are more technology-driven, we see that, more and more young women are coming forward and actually playing a very important role and eventually playing the role of leadership because these are more technology-driven, where IT is playing a very important role in. So we see that this is going to expand, and as one of the other areas where India and the United States agreed is the last 24 hours, a major area that is innovation, that is in the hydrogen, saying that hydrogen is the energy of our future. So maybe in 100 years from now, it's going to be only hydrogen, even 60 years from now. Some say even in 30 years from now. So we have also entered into this agreement with the United States to advance hydrogen R&D processes and practices and industry and business in India as part of this deal, Indo. So I think there again, hydrogen is another area where women is going to play a very important role. I think in time to come, you will see as we progress and as technology play an important role, you will find more and more women venturing into this area, and not only just venturing and being engineers and being major players. I think they're going to sit in the cockpit and provide leadership.
To keep a stockpile of crude oil in the US-based strategic reserves is an extremely beneficial move. Sir, how does India plan to geographically diversify the storage of our petroleum reserves?
India's objective is very clear when it comes to, since it is called strategic reserves, which means the best thing is that we can build oil storage capacity in our own country, in our own geography. And that's the long-term objective. But since we saw in 1971 Bangladesh war that some couple of major companies, they refused to sell oil to India. Therefore, the message then was, and that still remains valid, that we need to build our own capacity to take care of our basic essential requirement. At the same time, if your oil is based, parked, stored in a friendly geography like the United States, and of course there are agreements to make sure that it is done in such a way that the financial cost to us is minimum, in the sense that these are very dynamic deals, then I think it's perfectly okay. Let's not forget one thing. When we say our oil will be parked in the United States, it does mean that in the event of an emergency or a war, you have to physically bring that oil. Now, that oil you can sell somewhere else, but you can use that money in order to bring oil, let's say, from Singapore or from Malaysia or from ships which are floating around our ports. So that is the idea. So that doesn't necessarily mean you bring the oil physically, but that gives you that kind of guarantee that if required, you can even bring oil physically, and United States can provide protection to bring such oil in the event of a war-like situation or similar situation or any emergency of that sort. So that's the whole idea. I think as long as country which you are entering into such agreement, the country you trust, and the country, in this case, United States needs India, and India needs the United States. So it's not that only India needs the United States. United States also needs India. So I think when you have in such a situation, it's a win-win, because it's not only partnership, it's interdependence. So what India is building with the United States is interdependence. And this interdependence basically makes sure that relationship is sustainable, is transparent, and is mutually beneficial.
Right. Mr. Taneja, how will signing of MOU for enhanced cooperation in Strategic Petroleum Reserves program further strengthen India's energy security and pave way for greater U.S. investments?
Two things. Number one is that right now, as I said, we have got the storage capacity of about 11 days. So which means in a situation where oil prices have gone down and we want to buy cheap oil and store it, we'll be able to do it. And be in a situation like we have seen that we have got neighborhood, which is not necessarily very stable. So we need to be prepared. And in such a situation, it gives us that security, because energy security for India is basically securing supply. And this basically helps us to secure supply. If you store your oil in a country, let's say in Africa, and if that country is not able to provide us the kind of security we need, then it does really make sense. But if you're storing your oil in the United States, your oil is safe, your supply routes will be safe, and at the same time that you have a partnership where if you need to physically bring that oil to India in an event of war or a similar emergency, India and the United States together can make sure that the oil is physically and in a very secure manner taken from the United States and brought to India. And at the same time, when you build such a relation, United States is a major oil power. What yours may not recall or may not probably notice that general view is that Saudi Arabia is the biggest producer of oil. Actually, the United States is bigger than Saudi Arabia. The biggest oil producer in the world today is not Saudi Arabia, is the United States. So when a country like United States enter with India a kind of strategic partnership and we go for building a storage facility there, that opens the way and generate confidence, in the mind of those oil and gas companies in the United States and Canada and western part of the world. Look, US is moving in such a big way, showing such confidence in India, which means that they would also look at India and would like to look at investment opportunities in India. If the United States is coming to India showing the kind of confidence, the American companies and Western companies would start coming and investing even further in India. That's oil companies, but at the same time, money, capital, technology providers, services provider, facilities provider, training providers, all these people, consultants and also and so forth, they will all come. So it just opens a new avenue, and you find that eventually it leads to expansion of partnership and expansion of overall size of the relationship between the two countries.
India is pursuing its ambitious renewable energy targets and seeks to transform its energy sector. Sir, what is the way ahead to modernize the power system?
When you look at the renewable sector, India has got probably the most ambitious renewable energy goal. Very ambitious. And India is actually achieving all these goals in a time-bound manner very, very successfully. India has become today a role model for a number of emerging economies and developing countries. And India is also the headquarters of the International Solar Alliance, where we are promoting partnership in solar with other countries. Renewable energy is a very, very important area. At the same time, since India has now decided to go in the direction of age of electricity, which means your dependence on electricity is going to grow, and your dependence on oil and natural gas in a phased manner in coming decades will start coming down. So that means that you are modernizing your electricity transmission distribution infrastructure. You are modernizing your power generation infrastructure. You're going for the best available technology and practices. You're also building under the Atmanirbhar Bharat. You are building that most of your equipments are manufactured in India. Like in solar right now, dependence on imports, modules and cells is very high. We import roughly 90% of our total requirement. Now, in a very time-bound manner, government is reducing imports in such a way that we can actually build most of our solar power equipment, etc., within the country. And it is being done in a very time-bound manner. So I think overall modernization of the overall power infrastructure across the country, transmission, distribution to generation, and at the same time renewable. And there the United States can play an even bigger role. Because right now, major requirements are three. Number one is technology, modern technology and the better practices. Number two is capital. And number three is basically to boost indigenous capacity in terms of manufacturing equipment, so on and so forth. So I think in all these three areas, the India-America partnership is going to play an important role as more and more American companies can come and invest in India. And once we are ready, we'll be very happy to provide these equipments at the most competitive prices back to the United States.
Thank you, Mr. Taneja. Thank you for talking to All India Radio.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on India-US Strategic Energy Partnership. The participants were Narendra Taneja, energy expert, and AIR correspondent Renu Kataria. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our website newsonair.com. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.